I'm Greg Jarrett. You're in the strategy room. GOP candidate Dr. Ben Carson gave his 2 cents on the state of the Veterans Affairs health system this week, and even went as far as suggesting the department should be eliminated entirely. He said in an interview, quote, "We don't need a Department of Veteran Affairs. Veteran Affairs should be folded in under the Department of Defense, and it should be a smooth transition. We need to be looking at the way we take care of soldiers." Here with reaction are Jeannie Zaino, a professor of political science and international studies at Iona College, and Katrina Pearson, spokesperson of the Tea Party Leadership Fund. Welcome to both of you. Katrina, does he have a point?
Well, I believe he does. And, we are talking about a neurosurgeon who ran a department in a hospital. He obviously sees things from a different perspective. And having not served in office, he's probably trying to figure out why there's so much struggle in the bureaucracy to do something that should be relatively simple. So a lot of people are falling out saying, oh, this is going to hurt veterans, when the reality is he's simply just saying, let's just cut the system that's not working, put it under a department and get some new leadership in and start functioning the way that it should be. And I think a lot of candidates out there are starting to realize they're going to have to really start talking about these issues, because every department in the federal government is showing waste in their spending and just resources altogether. And so I think it brings up another great topic for debate.
Jeannie, the stories of lack of quality care, availability, are just endless. And the Veterans Administration, I think in the minds of a great many Americans, has just been a disaster. Doesn't something need to be done?
I do think something needs to be done. And one thing I think that Ben Carson, Dr. Carson, has done so well, unlike so many of the other candidates, is his campaign has been largely free of attacks on other candidates, and he has really been focused on substance. And I think his latest comments on the Veterans Affairs, whether you agree with them or not, are an example of that. And he maintains his position at 2 or 3 in many of the polls. In terms of the Veterans Affairs, one thing that I think he has to be very careful about is, I think first and foremost, when you're talking about Veterans Affairs, you cannot couch that in the context of smaller government. You have to first focus on the care of the veterans, and next about the issue of the small government and cutting back on bureaucracy. I think everybody agrees our bureaucracy is bloated, but I think one of the issues he ran into, and some of the comments we've seen from veterans have been, first and foremost, it's got to be about our care. And quite frankly, nobody is better situated to talk about health care in terms of the Republican or Democratic candidates than Dr. Carson. But I think he's got to be careful that has to be first and foremost. It can't be about cutting the bureaucracy, because there's a lot of other waste that can be cut, if that is, what he's aiming at, which I think most people agree.
I wonder, Katrina, whether, and this is what he is suggesting in part, let's create for military personnel health savings accounts, and so that they can get quality care at any medical facility in the nation's not just veterans hospitals that have come under fire for poor quality medical care. Is that worth exploring?
I do. I think that is worth exploring, and I think other candidates have brought that up as well, whether it's a voucher or just a whole separate department altogether. The ability for these veterans to get treatment is extremely important, particularly when it comes to traumatic brain injury. There are centers out there right now that can help them, but they're stuck. They're trapped in this system that has been proven to fail time after time again. And they even, push these cases aside. They'll just put a big case aside and move all through the middle cases. And it's very hurtful and it's painful, particularly to those that serve our country and to those that get injured and those families that have to endure the pain of all these veterans not being able to get the help that they need. Even Mr. Trump talks about a case where the doctor finally got to see a patient after 2 weeks and says, sorry, I'm going on vacation, so you're still going to have to wait. That should be unacceptable. And so I think Mr. Carson's position on closing down the VA is really something of saying this whole system needs to be gutted and done away with, because people are still going to have that stigma if it remains the same.
Jeannie, folding it into the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, I'm not sure that's any more efficient. The stories about Pentagon inefficiencies are legion, $500 toilet seats and, $700 screwdrivers.
Absolutely.
And so, Jeannie, give you the last word on that.
It's true, and that's where I think he needs to step back and really look at how he wants to do this, because you definitely don't want to put one big bureaucracy within another and bloat that Defense Department any more than it has to be. And I think that's another concern that people have when they look at this from the perspective of cutting waste. I'm not so certain that works. The voucher system, though, is a very interesting idea, but as we know, moving forward on these things in the U.S. governmental context at this point is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, well, nothing with the government is easy because it's too big. Jeannie and Katrina, thank you for joining us. You can check out foxnews.com for more on this developing story and the 2016 presidential race. I'm Greg Jarrett. Thanks for watching.